A Football Friday edition. Morning Scone presented by Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, Hudco Roofing, hudcoroofing.com, and restoredmotions.com. All right, hope your weekend, your Football Friday is off to a good start. Saints lose in Arizona. Season over. That is such a bummer, man. All right, there we go. 1 second. YouTube, please smash that like button. Facebook, please like the page, share the post. We appreciate you. I'm just sharing out this link real quick. All right, we'll get going. All right, Saints lose in Arizona 42-34. Undone by three turnovers, 2 pick sixes. I mean, you allowed that flurry right before half with pick sixes on back-to-back plays. Just stunning how this team continues to find new ways to lose. It feels like the old Saints. I mean, it really does. Like, you're just going to always get creative and find ways to lose. I mean, you're in a tie ball game, 14-14. You got the ball, 2-minute drill. Marquez Callaway has one go off his hands. One he should have caught. Should have caught it. Marco Wilson goes the other way. That, by the way, is Marco Wilson of Florida shoe throwing fame. Marco Wilson, or infamy. And then you come right back, and you don't see Isaiah Simmons, who undercut a route, and he picked you off and returned it 56 yards for the score. So, you went from running a 2-minute offense in a tie game, trying to go take the lead before half, to down 2 touchdowns at half, giving them the ball. You got to stop to start the third quarter, and you drove down and kicked a field goal. I mean, you stalled out inside the 10, but it was a 25-yard field goal, but you got points back. But it just sort of unraveled. You couldn't get stops. So, y'all, the biggest bummer about this game is you won the yardstick. I mean, you outgained them by more than 100 yards. 494 to 326 was the final yardstick. You let a team that had been so anemic offensively, you let them beat you because you threw an interception in the end zone and 2 pick sixes. Really disappointing, man. Rashid Shaheed, how about that guy? 53-yard touchdown pass on your first possession of the ball game. Didn't throw it to him again. Second consecutive week, Rashid Shaheed has scored and didn't touch the ball since after. You even came up with a stop in the red zone. You're up 7-3. You make them attempt a 28-yard field goal to maintain your lead, 7-6. Taysom scored. Beautiful play design. So, man, you're up 14-6, feeling pretty good. And then it all unraveled. You throw the interception in the end zone. They put together an 8-minute scoring drive to tie it. Then came the pick sixes, and it was over. So, after the game, Dennis Allen. I want to read this quote directly because I don't want to misquote Dennis Allen whenever I go off on this. But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go off on this on AFR today. I did a little bit on Twitter, and the more I think about it, the angrier I get. So Rod Walker tweeted, Dennis Allen on his biggest concern, quote, "My biggest concern is we haven't had the health of our players," end quote. tell you something, man. It's the NFL, and everybody deals with injuries. The Cardinals were down 6 starters yesterday, including their best receiver in Hollywood Brown, their starting center, their starting place kicker. They had injuries too. Everybody does. It's the NFL, but everyone is a pro and you're expected to go play. Injuries have nothing to do with your inability to tackle and protect the football. And that's not something that was new to this game. That's been every game. The guys that missed Jamar Chase on the 60-yard touchdown were Bradley Roby and Tyrann Mathieu. Don't tell me that's because of injuries. Against Tampa, the guy who fumbled when you were going into the end zone is Mark Ingram. Against Carolina, the guy who fumbled, which led to a scoop and score, was Alvin Kamara. Jameis threw a flurry of picks against Tampa. Andy threw a flurry of picks against Arizona. This team's inability to tackle and defend the football and protect the football is why they are 2-5, and it's why the season is over. And everyone who was skeptical about Dennis Allen, your skepticism has been proven to be justified because he does not have an answer. And the last time we saw the Saints 2-5 was the Bounty Gate year without Sean Payton. So go figure. It was my one concern that I wanted to minimize, but deep down it kind of bubbled in my belly, was we learned in the Bounty Gate year the value of Sean Payton. Even though everything was in place, well, do your job banner, and you had great player leadership with Drew Brees and Cam Jordan and Marcus Colston and tons of veteran guys still on that roster in 2012. And look at what happened. You thought you Aaron Cromer and then Joe Vitt, when he came back, you had the whole structure in place, and look at what happened. You're the worst defense in the history of the NFL, and you went 7-9. The only reason you went 7-9 is because of Drew Brees. And Drew Brees ain't walking through the door. I mean, in a literal sense, he did last night because he was at the game and then was in the post-game locker room. But man, oh man, and the worst part is you're going to be bad enough to have a high draft pick, but you traded that draft pick. And so the best team in the NFL, the Philadelphia Eagles, are going to get your draft pick. And you're looking at what Carolina's doing. They're fire sailing the whole thing. They traded McCaffrey last night. And you say, well, the Saints should do that. The Saints can't do that. We went over this yesterday when people were like, trade Michael Thomas. You can't trade Michael Thomas. You can't trade Alvin Kamara. You can't trade Ryan Ramczyk. Anybody who has value, you can't trade because of how the Saints have done business. The Saints have restructured deal after deal after deal to be within cap compliance because they have been in perpetual win now mode. We've talked about this. And that helps you become cap compliant and maintain your players, but it creates contract situations that you cannot dump. I told you about Michael Thomas yesterday. You're not going to eat a $38 million dead cap hit for Michael Thomas to not be on your team. And even if you wanted to trade Michael Thomas, who is taking on that salary? Who's giving you an asset for that, to take on that salary for a player that's broken down? Nobody. You want to look at Kamara? Let's look at Kamara. Alvin Kamara, in 2023, his dead cap number is $19 million, meaning if he is not on the Saints roster next year, he still counts $19 million against the cap. And he's got a $16 million cap hit. Who wants to take on a $16 million cap hit for a guy who keeps missing games? And by the way, is also under contract for $16 million in 2024, and that number jumps to $27 million in 2025. cannot trade that contract. That's the problem the Saints are in. You are stuck. You are stuck. You are stuck. Your only hope is that Jameis Winston gets healthy and becomes a stud. Let's say some good mornings. Kelly Gross, David Coslin, Jared DeLucky, good morning. From the Smokies, all right, Jerry. Hey, Dad, good morning. Megan Hurst, Kelly Knight, good morning. Steven, bad coaches can be saved by great quarterback play. Conversely, great coaches can prop up bad and mediocre teams. The Saints have neither. You cannot win in the NFL. No cursing, Steven. With a bad head coach and no quarterback. They are a rudderless ship. They kind of are. Ryan Amanda Guidry, Mark Bork, good morning. Brian Broom, good morning. Jerry, two things. Is it me or has Taysom disappeared in the second half the last two games? Is Rashid Shaheed only good for one play? Just talked about that. It's back-to-back weeks. Rashid Shaheed has scored on his only touch and then not touched the ball again or been targeted again. Unbelievable. Inexcusable. Jerry Fontenot, good morning. Lil Cormier, last night I was watching my dad's Saints from back in the day. The only thing missing was seeing Bum Phillips on the sidelines. Wasn't just that, bro. I mean, the end of Mora, the entire Hazlitt years, save 2000 when they won a playoff game. Ditka, I mean, that's the whole Saints franchise, man. It's been the whole history, aside from Peyton and a small window of about 4 years under Mora. Loud Plosho, what's going on? Kerry Hughes, good morning. Remember, no cursing on Morning Scone. Kerry, I'm on. Thank you. Rhoda Ewell, good news is we're in the worst division in football. 9 wins might win the division. But Rhoda Ewell, you're not getting the 9 wins, brother. You're at 2-5. You're at 2-5 through 7. With 10 games remaining, you're telling me you're going to have to win, you're going to go 7-3 the rest of the way? Come on. This team, 7-3 the rest of the way? There's just no way. Yeah, that's assuming 9 wins the division. If 9 wins you the division, you have to go 7-3 the rest of the way and win tiebreakers. Tanking for the first pick in the second round. Michael Thacker, good morning. Do you take Saints or LSU losses harder? I don't know. It's probably the same, but it really all depends on expectation, right? I mean, like, before this LSU season, I picked them 8-4. I didn't expect them to be great. You know, like, when I have expectations for LSU in their program and they lose, and how they lose matters. Like, you know, in 2020, when LSU gave up 59 or whatever it was to Bama, that's inexcusable. That's why I ranted after that. You're LSU, like, you are at a point in your program where that should never happen to you ever. And so that infuriates me. Two really good teams playing, you lose a close game because on a day they make a play you don't. Like, I can stomach, like, I can be disappointed. But, like, the problem with this Saints team is you have gone all in and you've had missteps. And for the coach to stand up and blame injuries and not take any accountability, that pisses me off. Like, that's the thing that really, really annoyed me last night. Like, I was disappointed, but then I saw Dennis Allen basically blame the injuries, and I'm like, bro, kick rocks. I mean, what an absolutely loser take that is. I'm not saying he's a loser. I'm saying, like, that's a loser's take, is to just sit there and blame something that's not controllable. Because all the things that you can control, you're not doing. Trivia Carter, what's up? Matt Lusto, good morning. Thanks for the retweet. Oh, yeah, very nice. Matt tweeted me a picture of a missile that was used. I'm doing this off the top, in Iraq, where his buddy had written "Go to hell, Ole Miss" on the missile. That was pretty cool. Y'all check it out. I retweeted it. Let's see. Vic Boy Payne Music. What's up? This is ridiculous. Let's see, No Sweat Sports, what's going on? Kevin Boudreau, Eric Bertrand, Brad David, enjoyed watching you on Crane & Company. Those guys have a great show. Yeah, man, so I just was on with J-Boy and the guys. Sorry, the last couple times I've done that, I've set up the camera and let y'all watch me do the interview. But the way I did it today, because I noticed my audio was bad the last couple times, I used my phone to do the interview today, so I couldn't set that up for y'all to see. But anyway. I would highly recommend y'all go check it out if you would. Go to Crane & Company YouTube and check out the interview. Hang on one second, there's backpack speed. I'll be right back. My apologies. I'll be right back to yell some more. Hang on. Y'all smash that like button if you would on YouTube, Facebook. Please like the page, share the post. Jason H is at fire sale time. Let's talk about. You can't fire sale anything. What assets do you have that you can trade? This is the problem with, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it was the wrong approach because I didn't criticize it at the time, the restructuring the contracts and everything. But when you exist in perpetual win now mode and you're constantly restructuring deals, it's basically like buying with credit. Like you get the thing now and you're going to pay for it later. Well, if you have all this debt, like no one wants to loan you money because you've got all this debt. Like they're never going to get paid back. It's like, it's the same thing the Saints are in. Who wants their players? Who wants their players? Because if you're trying to unload all this debt on someone else and they're like, yeah, I'm not taking that. I mean, the only players that would have value are guys still on rookie deals, like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, that you didn't want to pay. Like, had you traded Trey Hendrickson or traded Marcus Williams, those would have been options, you know, if you didn't want to pay those guys. But they tried to pay those guys. They just couldn't be competitive enough in the market to pay them and retain them. Jay Geiger, what's up? Ryan Wynn, Jesse Brown, morning, Matt. Guess the Saints will be taking applications for a cornerback. Bright spot, young receivers are promising. But the crappy part about that, Jesse, is sure, the receivers are promising. But look how much you have invested in Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry who aren't playing at all. And you've got those guys still on board. Scott Loom, 12, are you on Crane & Co. today? I was earlier. I was on at 7:15. So if you want to go check it out, you can go to their YouTube channel and check it out. I'm sure they'll post the interview. Ryan Rogers, morning, Matt. Haven't seen 2 interceptions happen that quick in an NFL game. Oh, I have. Adam Fondo, Matt, I laughed at RC's intro every week, like Roe used to laugh at his own. Yeah, appreciate RC, man. He's been great. We appreciate him making time for us every week. I mean, I hope y'all know how busy that dude is, man. Like, from, you know, going to watch his son play football, he'll usually fly, you know, on Friday to Arizona, watch Jordan play, then fly to Bristol, and he's back and forth with, like, DC with SVP, Bristol, and New York with Greeny. So he's like doing that for like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, flies home Wednesday, or flies somewhere to go do the pivot on Wednesday, and then usually flies home on Thursday or Wednesday after pivot. He's home Wednesday night, Thursday, and then gone again Friday. Like, dude grinds. So for him to make time for the show is awesome. Randall Alfrecht, morning, Matt. I know we won't make a move mid-season. It's time to trade away a few good players. Again, you can't do that. Like, that's what all of you are not understanding. You cannot trade your good players. They have contracts that are not tradable. Like, I just gave you Michael Thomas. I gave you Alvin Kamara. Let's look at Ryan Ramczyk. Let's say you wanted to trade Ryan Ramczyk. Okay. You restructured Ramczyk. So right now, Ryan Ramczyk is under contract through 2026. Next year, Ramczyk's dead cap number, meaning if Ryan Ramczyk is not on the Saints roster next year, he will count $39.9 million, $40 million against the cap next year if he's not on the roster. Then $18 million in 2024, $11 million in 2025. You finally get some relief in the final year in 2026, where his dead cap number is $3.6 million. Like, you can't trade that player. You can't. You cannot trade that player. You cannot trade that contract. That's what y'all are not understanding. Like, the Saints are stuck. They're stuck. You are what you are. This is the problem with being in perpetual win now mode. The benefit is You get to keep these players. You don't have to unload players because you can't afford to pay them. You just structure it a certain way, but it all comes due later, and then you're stuck with the players. So if they don't perform, this is the problem. You have a depreciating asset that you can't sell. Wendell Norman, Marcus Como, normally when LSU wins, Saints lose, that means we should be good for Saturday. That's true. They have alternated this year. Saints win, LSU losses have alternated. Sean Kaminsky, good morning. Trade bait, not sure we can, again, that's everybody's solution right now, but I think some of these comments are just old now. I've explained it enough. Kevin Boudreaux, happy my Astros are up 2-0. Get out of here. Hunter Broadhead, my Astros. I love how everybody, it's my Astros. Nobody here was ever a friggin' Astros fan. I grew up in this town. Astros were on 1300 WIBR whenever I worked over at that radio station. Nobody listened. Everybody get pissed when we play Astros games. Nobody cared about the Astros. Maybe 5 Astros fans in this town. When they stunk 5 years ago, nobody cared about the Astros. They got good, now everybody's an Astros fan. Whatever. Hunter Broadhead, morning Matt. Do you think the Saints are thinking Sean Payton will come back next year, so that's why they're traded away this year's first? I think Sean Payton is that is your one hope. Is Sean Payton comes back and you get a king's ransom from some team in draft compensation. But I don't know what that's going to look like, quite honestly. I don't know what that draft compensation is going to look like. More and more it sounds like, when Tampa traded for John Gruden, they gave up a couple of ones. I think a couple of ones and a 2 maybe. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not telling you I know. I'm just listening to other people around the NFL, what they say. And it seems to be this consensus that the Saints will get like a 2 for Sean Payton. Well, I mean, it's something. At this point, it's like, something better than give me something so I don't take a total loss on it. Hunter Broadhead, morning Matt. Oh, there, that's what it's written. Jay Geiger, enough depressing Saints talk. Favorite Baton Rouge restaurant. We love Rufino's. Food's great, and they always treat us awesome. Ryan Lesher shared, nobody wants to hear the word over, but that's exactly what it is. Can't buy wins or get so lucky in the NFL. You're a bad team, top 5 talented roster with nothing guiding the ship. I don't think they're a top 5 talented roster. I think you have woefully underperformed or maybe overvalued your roster. Tyrann Mathieu not been great. You haven't had Jarvis Landry play at all. Michael Thomas has been hurt. Marcus May's been good. But your safeties last year with Williams and Jenkins were better than your safeties this year. That's not even deniable. You traded away Chauncey Gardner-Johnson thinking, okay, we'll put Bradley Roby in the nickel. You took a step back there. Your defense has been dominant, and it's not anymore. The one good decision they made was letting Quan walk and basically elevating Pete Werner and saying, all right, taking the training wheels off, go. And he's been awesome. He's been the one bright spot. Shane O'Mac, not much for drastic moves, such as firing the coach, hitting the reset button. I don't think Gail Benson pulls the trigger early. However, Stan Van Gundy didn't last 1 year. Well, he lasted 1 year. Let's see, enough. Even though the Saints suck, it's still a great weekend coming up. LSU wins. We get more Graf twice this weekend. Tigers and Pels, that's right. Graf was so fired up. If you missed the start of AFR yesterday, I pivoted a little bit, threw some flowers and bouquets toward the Pels. They deserved it. I was playing Graf radio calls. He texted me. He loved it, man. So y'all go check it out if you missed the start of yesterday's show. Just go to the 104.5 ESPN YouTube. You can catch AFR. Brian Williams, difficult to put your heart into a team that disappoints so much, just the way of the Saints. Taz, team does not respond to Coach Allen. Tim Gotro, good morning. Julia, Kyle Lapono, sorry the Saints look disinterested in that game. Can't replace a Hall of Fame coach that easily. It feels like the Saints of old. It does, Julia. It does. Indiana Tiger, Pelicans should be fun. That's true. Let's see. Oh wait, hang on. I'm going to show that. Sean, your comment got hidden. Sean said, "Can I get a shameless plug for an event in Baton Rouge? It's the Maddie's Footprints Gala. It's the first event in Baton Rouge. Looking for sponsors. Morning Scone family is awesome." Maddie's Footprints Gala. Hey, Sean, if you have, yeah, for sure, man. Listen, if you have a web link or something, drop it in the comments. if you have a web link for the charity event, you can go and drop it in the comments. Leon Williams, I see the Saints differently. We need to be healthy. But Leon, here's the problem, man. Like, health has nothing to do with your inability to tackle. Health has nothing to do with your ability to protect the football. And those are your Achilles heels right now. And your defense isn't good. You traded away, like you let Trey Hendrickson walk, you let Marcus Williams walk. You thought you could fix it and patch it. Well, Peyton Turner hasn't played. Marcus Davenport has been non-existent this year. You're not as good at safety. I mean, look, I love Tyrann Mathieu as much as anyone, but he's a guy who's in his 30s now, and he's not the player he was. And he's not as good as Marcus Williams. That's just the bottom line. You're a different team, man. You're not as good. You're just not as good. Deborah Coward, good morning. Kyle Perez was not a good 2 days from Scone. LSU needs to come through to make up for the Yankees and the Saints. I mean, last night was a bummer, dude. I mean, watching the Yankees lose, go down 0-2, I mean, yeah, that's over. I mean, Astros are going to win. And it's so conflicting, too, because I'm so fired up for Alex Bregman. I mean, on a personal level, I love him. Like, he's a friend, and I'm so excited for his success. He had he hit 3-run homer. And so Bregman mutilated a baseball last night, and I had this, like, emotional jockeying inside him where I'm so fired up for him becoming the greatest home run hitter for as a third baseman in MLB history. He's got 14 postseason home runs in the postseason. He's got 14 postseason home runs. That's the most of any third baseman in Major League Baseball postseason history. I mean, it's incredible. I'm so fired up for him. And the flip side of it is I'm really bummed my team lost. So, and that's over, by the way. The Yankees-Astros is over. Yankees bullpen stinks, has all year, and there's way too much swing and miss. They'll have to face Verlander even if it gets to a seventh game. They'll have to face Verlander twice, and they're not going to beat Verlander in Houston. So even if they get to a seventh game, that last night was your shot. Your bullpen the last 2 days played good enough. I mean, Bregman, his one swing off of Severino got all of Houston scoring. I mean, you were good enough to hold down that lineup the rest of the game. You played solid defense and big double plays. You couldn't scratch across more than 2 runs. So that's that. Neil Ripley, what's going on? Chance Babin. Let's see. Shelby Kelly, at least the Pels are fun to watch. They are. I'm going to tell y'all, the Saints keep this up. We are headed toward an inevitability of people getting really, really excited about Pelicans and LSU basketball. Overtaking some of the Saints conversation because people don't like to watch a losing team, and that's what this team is going to be, going to continue to be. See, Ryan Amanda Guidry, Adam Keene, good morning. There's more going on with Thomas than just an injury. No, there's not, Adam. He's got a foot injury. He's a guy approaching 30 whose body doesn't respond like it used to. That's what it is. He can still flash and be an amazing player, but he is a player whose body is breaking down on him. And it happens, and it sucks. It sucks when it happens, but it happens to everyone. It just happens at a different point in their career for everyone. And for Michael Thomas, it's happening right now. And it's really unfortunate because you have a great player who was on a Hall of Fame trajectory to start his career, and injuries have just derailed him. And it's unfortunate. But there's nothing more than just an injury. So please stop speculating. It's reckless, and it's just not smart. It's what a lot of y'all did with Kayshon Boutte. And I think you're seeing now, like, he's a good dude. He's a good teammate. He's engaged. He's just a quiet dude that doesn't say much. And you had an offense that wasn't featuring him. I mean, and it ain't his fault. It's, he's had some drops. So has everyone else on the team. Anyway. Richie Bird, Matt, you said on Wednesday, Ole Miss had the 109th strength of schedule. Up to this point, everything I see is 50 to 60s. Trying to prove Ole Miss fans. Could you share? Yeah, it's at ESPN.com. Go to ESPN.com, look at strength of schedule. It's actually 110 today. Daniel Sinence, good morning. Where are we? Casey Smith, should DA be on the hot seat? Absolutely. Absolutely. Man, listen, I believe in stability in sports. I believe in, sometimes you have to give a coach an opportunity to get his guys in there, get a system rolling. But like the thing with Dennis Allen was he was supposed to just be the sort of natural transition from Sean Payton. And some guys, as you were seeing, are just better lieutenants than they are generals. And he's apparently one of them. Taz, what's up? Meant to say some people are meant to be coordinators, not a head coach. Same. We agree. K. Orange, first and goal. Hill doesn't get a touch. You have to settle for 3, inexcusable. Yeah, it's bad play call. But then again, they did throw Hill the touchdown pass inside the 5. The first play, not giving it to him was stupid, but then they threw him a little screen pass and he got in the end zone. B. Lorky, the play calling for Kamara is frustrating. Many times not on the field in the red zone, perpetually running him up the middle, no screen calls. Yeah, they haven't thrown him the ball this year, which is bizarre. That was where he made a living his first 3 years in the league. He had 81 catches each of his first 3 years in the NFL. And that part of his game has really been eliminated, which is crazy. I get it. You have a lot of really good receivers who need to get their targets. But I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about moving the football. But the other point is the Saints offense, again, moving the ball hasn't been the problem. Protecting the football has been the problem. And your defense has been a problem. Nicholas Cantrell, morning Scone, who can we trade to get some picks? Nobody. That's the problem. Jason Mabio, the only good thing that happened last night was confirming Ott is still on fire. Other than that, poop show. Yeah, Ott gave you Arizona last night, so it hit again. Brian Russell, what's up? Cody Brunet, what got me was during the game they said Hill cracked 2 ribs during camp, cracked 1 in another spot week 2. DA said after the game he isn't hurt. Tim Gautreau, Shaheed is a dynamic player. How about dialing up a few more touches, jet sweeps? Yep, I'm with you. Ronnie Dugas, where does Drew Brees live now? I think he's got his home in San Diego, which is his primary residence. I think they have their house here still too, or in New Orleans. Matt Garner, I never understood why people had high hopes for Dennis Allen. His head coaching record in the past was horrible. Well, Matt, you can understand the argument. The argument was he was in a dumpster fire situation in Oakland, which is true. Oakland is a disaster franchise. And look at the quarterbacks he had, Matt McGloin, and it was a terrible roster, bad ownership, all that stuff. No, that's why nobody succeeds there. And so the idea was, okay, well, you take this guy who got his feet wet, and there are retread coaches that have success in their second go-around. They learn what they need to learn in the first go-around and have success in the second. Bill Belichick's a retread. He got fired in Cleveland, and then it became the greatest coach ever. So that happens. So I understand the argument for it. It's just it so far has not proved to be fruitful. All right, smash that like button if you would. As always, shout out to Brock, Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, brortho.com. Friday night clinic, great service that they've offered for 30 years at Brock. Every Friday during high school football, players that are injured can go get evaluated for free. Scans, all that stuff at Brock every Friday night. Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. Hudco's pinned in the chat. Remember, Hudco is the only Louisiana-based certified fortified roofing company. We're the only roofing company in the state from Louisiana that can offer you a fortified roof. You can learn more at our website, HudcoRoofing.com, and ask about fortified roofing, because fortified roofing can save you more than 50% on your insurance premiums. Y'all, think about what your homeowner's insurance is. What if you can cut that in half? Ask about a fortified roofing, Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. And of course, Restored Motions. If you got pain, go see my girl Crystal Poche over at Restored Motions. She's the best. Just book a session. RestoredMotions.com. Anthony Cortello, time to start over for the Saints. Disappointing. Our worst season in years will not result in a high draft pick. This is a leaderless franchise. C.J. Johnson trade proved lack of football smarts. You see, Anthony, but here's the problem. You're sitting there saying it's time to start over. Well, part of that's going to be trading assets. So they traded an asset to get a pick, and now you're saying that shows lack of football smarts. I mean, you want to have your cake and eat it too here. I mean, if you want to accumulate assets, then you have to trade assets to get picks. He was one of the few that you could trade because he's still on a rookie deal. Brian Russell, Cody Brunet, at least now we know the real reason Sean Payton left. I don't know the reason Sean Payton left. If Sean Payton's here, they win yesterday. If Sean Payton's here, they win against Minnesota. If Sean Payton's here, they beat Carolina. I think this team's 5-2 if Sean Payton's here. Hell, they might have been Cincinnati. They might be 6-1 right now if Sean Payton were here. Baldy B, Mudbug LA, why is it always one or two plays causes the Saints to lose? Dude, because it's the NFL, man. Like, I think this is the hardest thing sometimes for people if you don't watch the NFL. I mean, like if you only watch one team or you don't watch the NFL as a whole. That's every game in the NFL because everybody is a pro. That's why the average margin of victory in the NFL is like 3 or 4 points. Like, everybody is a pro. Even the teams that lose all of the time, the margin is so slim between winning and losing. I mean, that's what happens in the NFL. That's why details matter. That's why protecting the football matters. That's why coaching matters and making the right decision in certain situations. Because you don't see a lot of 34-12 games like you do in college. There isn't Alabama against Vanderbilt in the same league in the SEC. That doesn't exist. I'm not yelling at you, but that's not a problem isolated to the Saints. That's everybody in the NFL. Marcus Washington, Vincent P., what's going on? I think I'm really behind on comments. My bad, y'all. Wow, I am really behind on comments. Jeez. If y'all would smash that like button, I'd appreciate it. Micah 504, we have nothing to look forward to. This hurts. Pellies, bro. Pellies, and let's hope LSU gets a win tomorrow. Keegan Hayes, morning, Matt. Does State keep it close against Bama? I don't think so, no. I think big bounce back spot for Bama here. Baldy B, they could possibly turn it around. 10-day break could give us time to get everyone healthy. But you look at the schedule, like, if we're talking about turning it around, like if I entertain that conversation, let's assume, someone posted earlier, let's assume you got to get to at least 9 wins to win this division. I think it's going to take more than that, but let's say you got to at least to 9. Or you're 2-5, so it means you got to get 7 more wins, okay? You got to get 7 wins out of 10, so you got to go 7-3. You got the Raiders, the Ravens, who have both struggled, but both are playing better than you and both are markedly better than you at quarterback with Carr and with Lamar. You're at Pittsburgh, which is winnable, but they're saying the same thing about you. You're home against the Rams, who are better than you. You got to go to San Francisco. You'll lose that one. You got to go to Tampa. You'll lose that one. You're home against Atlanta. You could win that one in the Dome. You're at Cleveland, and remember, Deshaun Watson's going to be back by then. So that's Christmas Eve, cold Cleveland against Deshaun Watson. Then you're in Philly on New Year's Day against the best team in the NFL. Then you're home against the Panthers. Show me 7 wins. Show me 7 wins. I might be able to show you 3. I think you could win. I think you beat the Steelers. I think you beat the Falcons at home and the Panthers at home. I think those are 3 you can win. Maybe you get a 4th win somewhere in there. But I think 6-11. 5-12, 6-11 is where this team's going to finish. Let's see. Tomas, more sad now than it was after the Minneapolis Miracle, even the no call. This time I see no hope for the future. That's true. Kerry Smith, trade Mike Thomas. You can't trade Mike Thomas. This is what I'm going to say this again, Kerry. I'm going to assume maybe you just jumped on the board, you didn't hear it. Everyone says trade this player, trade Mike Thomas. Okay, Michael Thomas. Again, I'll do this again. I'll do it for everyone who asks. To trade Michael Thomas, you have to have someone willing to give you something to take Michael Thomas. Okay, you want to get rid of him because you just insulted him. He's a China doll. He can't stay healthy. So if every team in the NFL knows that, why would they give you an asset for Michael Thomas? And keep in mind, you're not just trading for the player, you're also trading for the player's contract. Here's Michael Thomas's contract. This year, his cap hit's $13 million. His dead cap is $38.5 million. That means if he's not on the Saints roster, he counts $38.5 million against the Saints. Next year, Michael Thomas's cap hit is $28.2 million. His dead cap hit is $25.4. So meaning even if Michael Thomas is not on your roster next year, he still counts $25 million against the cap. But if someone trades for Michael Thomas, next year they have to pay him $28 million, and in 2024 they have to pay him $27 million. Why in the holy hell would any team give the Saints anything of value for the right to pay, as you mentioned, a China doll, $28 and $27 million the next 2 years, respectively? Everyone keeps saying, trade this guy, trade. Who would trade for that contract? If it was Jamar Chase, someone might do it. Young guy, entering his prime. Okay. Michael Thomas, 30 years old, broken down with that contract. Who's trading for that contract? You got to stop. Like, this is the part that a lot of fans don't get. Trade this guy, trade this. You're not just trading a player, you're trading the player's contract. And what the Saints have done is restructure, and you've basically bought on credit. And so you have this massive amount of debt that you can't get rid of. You can't file bankruptcy. You just got to keep on keeping on. You cannot get rid of that debt. You can't hand your debt off to other people, to other teams. You got to suck it up. Bills due. You got to pay it. And the Saints going to pay it over the next few years. Unless if Jameis Winston gets healthy and becomes a Pro Bowl quarterback. That's your hope. Because it ain't Andy Dalton. I told you that last week. When Jameis is healthy, he's got to play because you got to figure out if he can be your guy. Okay, idiot. I'm sorry, you're not an idiot. I just saw the last comment pop up. Fire sale time. Like, were you not listening to what I just said? Like, literally the words that just came out of my mouth. You cannot fire sale this team because you have a whole bunch of bad contracts. This is the result of doing business the way you've done business. And I'm not sitting here criticizing it because we all celebrated. We celebrated Kai Harley and his cap gymnastics and how they're able to make it work and push money into future years and all. And it's allowed you to stay in win now mode. But that's great if you're winning. If you're not winning, then you've got all this debt and nothing to show for it. And that's where the Saints are. Eagles are going to get a hell of a draft pick. Yeah, they are. Lord Nixon, Arizona had injuries too, but the third and fourth string running backs were looking like ones. Chris Nelson, morning Matt, hurts the soul to see the Saints like this. Ed Murphy, regarding Kamara's contract, there may be a legal opt-out following his arrest, especially if he's convicted. Okay. Let's say you legally opt out of his contract. If that's even true, I don't know if there is. Then who's going to trade for? Or can you trade him? Or has he just become a free agent? Which you don't want that. You don't want just to leave for nothing. Kyle Milliken, Matt, I live in Mississippi, where I think most true Ole Miss fans have more hate for LSU than any other school, including Mississippi State. Do most LSU fans feel the same about Ole Miss? No. older LSU fans, like my grandfather who remembers Johnny Vaught and all that stuff. But I think the Ole Miss rivalry matters. People here like it. I don't think that anybody would, outside of like the people watching football in the 50s and 60s, would put Ole Miss at the top of their list. Reed Rule, what's going on? Pelicans are the Eagles of the NBA, rising franchise with a top 5 pick in their pocket. Very true. Eric Bertrand, injuries are a factor, but not the whole reason, like DA said. Let's see, Sergeant King, Eric Wilderrotter. Blame Loomis for the back end contracts. But again, like that is, look, hindsight's 2020. That's revisionist history. And when they were doing that, none of us were criticizing it. My hand's in the air because that allowed you to stay competitive. And I was okay with win now mode because you knew Drew Brees was near the end of his career. And you had to make a decision, like if you were going to continue to try to double down to win right now. And they tried, and they just came up short, man. They had great teams that went deep into the playoffs. And look, I mean, the Nola no call, the Minneapolis Miracle, the Rudolph push-off in 2019. You're the 1 seed in 2020. Tampa's coming into your place, and they beat you after you beat them twice that year. I mean, it sucks, dude. Or you weren't the 1 seed. You beat the Bears in the wildcard round. But anyway, it sucks. You just came up short in the playoffs. I mean, if the Saints had broken through and won a Super Bowl, we'd be sitting here going, yeah, man, but we got the Super Bowl. Look at Denver. Denver's the best example. When Denver had Peyton Manning, they did the same darn thing. They mortgaged their future to win right now, and they won. They went to 2 Super Bowls and won one of them. And, they're at a point now where they're far enough removed from it where they're like, all right, we need to have a plan. Like, we had this lull where we knew it was going to be, an issue coming back from it. But at some point, we got to bounce back from it. We got to start making good personnel decisions. So they go and trade for Russell Wilson to try to recreate it, and that ain't going so great right now. So, it's a similar thing to what Denver's going through right now. YouTube, do me a favor, please smash that like button if you're new. Please subscribe up to the channel. Facebook, please like the page, share the post, like the page, share the post. Mark Vitanovich, what's good? Forrest Wilkinson, what's next for the Saints? I mean, it's a good question, man. I think you have to hit on your middle round picks and build through a young roster again like you did in 2017. In 14, 15, 16, you were back-to-back 7-9. And the thing that changed the Saints' fortune was they hit on that 2017 draft. And look, the Saints have been able to do it without first-round picks. If you want a glimmer of hope, that's it. I mean, Marcus Davenport has not lived up to what you gave for him. Peyton Turner hadn't played at all. Cesar Ruiz, say what you will, not a great player, but at least dude's out there every week. He's playing games. You know what I mean? But Eric McCoy was a second rounder. Michael Thomas was a second rounder. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was a fifth rounder. And you found a lot of these dudes in the middle rounds. So you can Pete Warner was a second rounder. So, if the Saints continue scouting and evaluating, that's your lone glimmer of hope. Is that you're able to, Camaro was a third rounder. You're able to utilize your scouting and rebuild this roster through the draft using middle round picks, And we've seen them do it. Jari Evans was a 4th round guy. Jermon Bushrod was a 5th round guy. Zach Strief was a 7th round guy. Colson was a 7th round guy. I'm not saying that's common, but it's doable. We've seen him do it before. Patrick Landry, morning Scone site, EA Stadium. Yeah. My son Carson scored 260. Oh, very cool. Very cool. 260-yard passes. Would love a shout-out. We love Morning Scone. Carson, man, you beat my nephew's team. So my little nephew is number 1 as a cornerback on the St. Jude Mercy team. So, yeah, it was pretty cool that they got to play at EA. I will say that. I didn't know if St. Teresa had a field, but it's pretty cool that they got to go play on a high school field, turfed out, looking really cool. So, and that'd be a thrill for those guys. Congrats to your son, man. I remember him. He's a good player. Oh, I remember hearing the name Carson Landry over the loudspeaker. So, congrats, man. That's great. Congrats, Carson. Good game, man. Let's see. Where are we? Let's see. All right, y'all. Oh, it's 8:30. I got to get rolling. I'm sorry. Brett DeGro, Ruiz might have been a better player if he was playing center. And he's improving at guard. But you're right. He's a natural center. He's playing out of position. D, the Gorillionaire. What's going on? I should have hired Dougie P. I mean, look, I wanted Eric Bieniemy. I don't know that that is the answer or solves everything, but he was my guy. But I was also okay with them hiring Dennis Allen. Their logic behind hiring DA made sense. And so I think you can say, okay, I get why you did it, but you have to look and acknowledge so far it ain't working. And if this continues, then you have to make a decision if you double down on this guy or if you make a change. Vincent Beverly, what's up? Brian Judd format, is Dennis Allen the right coach for the team? Right now, it's hard to say that. And I wasn't going to put it all on DA until I heard last night he basically blamed the injuries on where they are. It's the NFL, bro. Everybody's got injuries. The Cardinals were without their best receiver, their starting center, their place kicker, and they made plays. I mean, that's a team that scored 9 points last week. 9 against Seattle. And Dennis Allen's forte is defense, and they stink right now. Tomas, we can get good value from desperate teams. Niners gave a lot for Christian McCaffrey, but McCaffrey had a palatable contract. Like, Tomas, tell me the player. I'll go through the whole roster today. I haven't done it, but I've gone through I've gone through Thomas, Kamara, Ramchick. Like, go through the players that you would think have trade value, right? That someone would give the Saints something of value for the player, and then look at let's look at Eric McCoy, starting center. Eric McCoy, really good player. Let's look at Eric McCoy's contract. Let's look at Eric McCoy's contract. If this loads, page isn't working. Reload page. Come on. All right, Eric McCoy's contract. Here we go. Load. All right, Eric McCoy's contract. This is one that could work. He's under contract through 2027. So he's on a 5-year, $60 million contract. He is 25 years old. You want to trade your starting center? Trade your starting center, move McCoy or move Ruiz over to center. That's doable. McCoy's got in 2023, he's got a $17 million cap hit. So actually, that don't work for next year. But his contract after 2023 works. Let me see. There is a pop down. If they trade him, okay, this works. If they trade Eric McCoy after June 1st, they'd have to wait till after June 1st. If they trade him after June 1st, the 2023 dead cap number goes to $1.6 million. That works, but it wouldn't be till after June 1, so it wouldn't matter for this coming draft. You'd have to wait till after June 1 to trade him, but you could. Someone mentioned Cam Jordan. I mean, you could have a J.J. Watt situation. Cam Jordan. Nope. No way. Cam Jordan's got a $23.4 million dead cap number next year. No way. You're not eating $24 million against the cap. You can't afford that. So Cam Jordan's here for at least another year. Let's see. Let's see what the... Even if you trade him after June 1st, his dead cap number is still $10.7 million. So Cam Jordan's here for at least next year as well. You see, guys, this is a problem. You've got a lot of bad contracts. Like, you can't do anything with it. All right, it's 8:40. I got to get going, y'all. All right. I appreciate y'all for watching. I know I'm bummed. Thanks for commiserating. As always, shout out to Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, brortho.com, brortho.com for the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic. You need an orthopedist, go to Brock. Friday Night Football Clinic, free Friday Night Clinic. Appreciate them so much, man, for what they do for high school athletes. Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. Hudco's pinned in the chat if you would. Just click that link, fill out the form on the homepage. We'd love to give you a free, no obligation roofing inspection, no matter where you are in the state of Louisiana. Do business with someone you know. Or you can call 364-1007. Call that number. You might get Terrio right now, 364-1007. Yeah, if you want to talk Terrio, call that number right now, 364-1007, 225. And Restored Motions. My girl Crystal Poche over at Restored Motions. If you have pain, you feel like you've tried everything, and you're just destined to live in pain, you have an option. Go see Crystal Poche at Restored Motions, restoredmotions.com. All right, y'all. AFR coming up at 3. LSU Daily's already live. If you want to go check out LSU Daily, I greatly appreciate it. LSU Daily podcast on your favorite podcast app. And then AFR 3. Okay, y'all have an awesome day. Looking forward to a Football Friday, AFR, and we'll see you. Peace.